Hey, welcome to the first reading of Chapter 5 of How to Lose a Planet, the Afro-Future Epic. Chapter 5 is Kato, Free and Ever Gonna Be Free. You really are good at getting people to tell you all the wrong things. He felt like he could fall apart, like his bones were waterlogged wood. His eyelids were heavy, his mouth was dry. Kato, the dreams the sexual Kato. It's not that I'm into you or anything, he said. In fact, honestly, I don't like you at all. It's probably just because I'm Kato, we don't have time for this. Incarcerated. I'm just incarcerated. He squeezed his hand against the back of his neck. That's all I was gonna say. Not anymore, she said. You need to accept that it's a bigger thing than you. Yeah, you mentioned that. He rubbed his wrists where the handcuffs were before she unlocked them and his ankle shackles. He sighed and looked down at the blood soaking his prison uniform and wanted to spit on himself, to spit the blood away. He felt the blood dried in his shoe and asked himself if he could live without the foot. He wanted to ask her if she had explained everything, and if she had, would she mind explaining everything again? So you're saying my freedom is mandatory? At least you're trying to be funny. She touched her chin with her forefinger. That must be a good sign. Thanks. He twisted his head toward the passenger window until his neck cracked. I feel terrible. It's done, Kato. This is your new home. She pointed to a small gray hook house, named so because it was built with pre-made rooms that hooked into each other, making for easy home construction and home deconstruction. The simple assembly and inexpensive materials made hook houses a popular choice for rebuilding the neighborhoods that were devastated by the Moonwa shelling, and for creating new neighborhoods vulnerable to Moonwa attacks. This is a home, he said. The house was cubed and metallic, like a stove. He hated the thought of entering it. The keypad is already programmed for your thumbprint. Under your bed, you'll find a DocuPad with your approved clemency request uploaded to it. Also, all of your mail. And there's a little money for you in a bank account, almost enough for a few months of living. She looked at her steering wheel. There's also some information about a job that made me write your recommendation, a custodial position. Her hand shook while she gestured. And of course, I'll never mention this, as someone so often likes to tell me they'll bury my family in space if I talk. She looked at him. Do you know what space does to the body, Kato? He nodded and felt a fresh wave of nausea. She dabbed her eyes. I'm sorry, I forgot about something. She pointed to a blue dented vehicle. That ship box is yours. Its wheels up is busted. Her gaze fell onto the houses lining the street. But I guess that means you're less likely to get robbed. Already programmed for your thumbprint. Its key is in the house. How'd they get my thumbprint? She looked like she was gonna scream. The prison! Did you forget they fingerprinted you? Right. He covered his mouth with his fist for a moment. Listen, I hate that you've put me in a position where I have to say this, but I should go back to prison. Yeah, maybe. She lowered her head. Prison food and sexual violence, how exceptional. You're definitely your father's daughter. Passenger window off. The window dissolved. He poked his head outside and looked up and down the road, lined with street lamps and crowded with boxy hook houses, pressed against each other like they made up a row of teeth. He smelled the faint, nutty aroma of sweet root. He never smoked, but he found pleasure in the odor, and knowing that someone nearby was free and enjoying the bliss of burdens rising from shoulders. He took a deep breath and looked at Lacey. Take me back. Tomorrow, someone's gonna notice I'm not in prison anymore. This ain't right, it's a setup. A reason to give me more time. A setup. Because you're so important? She sighed. Are you a kingpin too, Kato? The city can't get enough of them, so why not? She gripped his forearm and dug her fingernails into his skin. Think. For the past week, you've been sick. Not sick enough to see the nurse, but bad enough to pass up your 1 hour free time in the yard, yes? Yeah. Nobody's seen you for the past week other than the same 3 guards, she said. Have you left your cell? Have you given anyone a visual reason to believe you're even alive, let alone still in prison? Have you been able to have your biology scanned by the mirror? He rubbed his eyes. I sent a letter out last week. Someone who thought I was brave or whatever. She tilted her head. Kato, they deactivated your mirror. They got to your food, so you'd be too sick to leave your cell. You think they forgot your mail?